So BTS, my lads, my boys, they have been cancelled in Japan. I may have said banned or cancelled, I don't know. Cancelled is probably the better word. So as well as people boycotting their Japanese album, people in Japan and outside of it, they've actually been cancelled off of a music performance show across in Japan. And the problem with this is, one, I don't think it's right. And two, it's just stupid. And if there's one thing I hate more than not being right, is something being stupid. So this commotion sort of blew up a little while ago, but now it's coming to the forefront even more mainstream. It was on the BBC. I'm like, what are you doing on the BBC? And now they talked about it, I was like, oh, well, I guess I should have just talked about it at the time, but I was like, it's a non-story for me. I mean, they haven't done anything wrong. The apparent problem was that Jimin was wearing a National Liberation Day t-shirt, and we don't really know when this was shot. It could have been shot last year, 6 months ago, 3 years ago. Probably not 3 years ago from the image, but it may have been a long time ago. And the fact it's just being brought up now is just crazy. It's sort of what social media does. They like to build you up and then just slap you down after a while. People are getting annoyed because on the shirt he was wearing, there was a slogan which was, I guess, divisive in some ways, but I don't think it is, which was patriotism, our history is liberation, Korea. Basically saying we're an independent state, we have our own laws, we have our own rules, because obviously they were, you know, colonized by the Japanese from like the early 1900s to the mid 1900s, and the only reason why essentially they were free from Japan's rule was because of World War II. Because Japan lost World War II with the Germans, they basically lost all of their colonies. And an image on the shirt, which I'm in two minds about here, is actually one of an atomic bomb going down on Japan. Now, that's not funny in any way. It's not really cool or hip, but I understand why they have it on their shirt. I don't agree with it because I wouldn't personally do it, but I understand why they've done it because that is sort of the reason why Korea is independent Korea right now. I'm not saying that, oh, you know, colonization is good. Colonization is not good. Let's not play. But you shouldn't forget your history. At the same time, you shouldn't be persecuted for your history, for your grandparents' actions or great-grandparents' actions. I think that it's a bit stupid that this is the reason why they're apparently being cancelled in Japan. The guy wore a shirt. Like, this is the extent we're going to now. He wore a shirt. It might not have even been his choice. It might have been a stylist that put the shirt on him. You know? One thing I do know is Koreans are very patriotic. Like, they are very, very patriotic. I just think, really, if you can't be patriotic, what can you be? And him wearing that shirt is him being patriotic. I think that maybe the shirt is a bit distasteful, but is it a reason for them to get banned from doing a show? You know, or a boycott happening to them? So what you're saying is, essentially, their history is less relevant than the Japanese history because of what happened to Japan. Even though Japan was on the wrong side of history because they were part of the Nazi forces at the time. So really, Korea has not really done anything wrong here. And through that, Jimin has not really done anything wrong here. It's odd. It's odd. I don't know if I've put myself across properly here. I really don't, because it's something I know a bit about. I'm just surprised the amount of stuff which I didn't know about the World Wars. Even though I did GCSE history, I was going to do A-level history. But you learn a certain amount in those things, but you really don't learn enough. I was surprised to find out that China was actually pretty heavily involved in the wars. You wouldn't have, I didn't know that. I mean, I knew there was the Manchurian crisis and that type of stuff in the 30s, but really, most of the stuff was completely oblivious to me. And in the last couple of months, I've just been learning about that in my own time. And I had no idea that China, Russia, America, and the UK were basically on like a council for world peace and world safety at one point, just after the war. I didn't know that. I was never taught that. I didn't know that was even a thing. I think we just need to learn from each other's history, because I don't know who said it. I don't know if it was RM or J-Hope. It was probably RM, but he said something like, a country has no future if it forgets its past, something like that. And you have to be aware of these things to be able to move forward, but you don't want to let it shackle you at the same time. Like, it shouldn't be that. You should be aware of what's happened and just move on. Be aware and move on. This idea of reparations is just thick. I hate it. It's so stupid. I'm an Indian, so, you know, obviously the Brits colonized India and did that. But before the Brits were there, the Mughals were there. India's just a colonization zone. It's just what it is. But, yeah, reparations is just stupid. How far back do you go? How far back do you go with this? Because I know that Korea has asked for some reparations for the stuff Japan did to them early in the 20th century. It's like, I don't agree with that either. See, so there are things on both sides I agree with and don't agree with. Yeah, with this Jimin thing in particular, I think, man, just let the guys perform. You know what, actually? Don't let the guys perform. They shouldn't be banned, but they need to rest their voices. So maybe it's a good thing. I wouldn't say you should, but it's been done. It's been done. Well, did America really need to drop those atomic bombs? Let's be honest, I don't think they did. Let's be completely clear. But it's their history, and if that hadn't happened to Japan, Korea would still be a Japanese colony right now. And the world would probably be speaking German. So Germany's basically done what they set out to do, just in a non-violent way this time. They're all like, they want their Lebensraum and all that stuff. They want their living room and their living space. They've basically done it by becoming like the hub of Europe. It just took another 50 years. I suppose I have to give them props. They did their Third Reich without really doing their Third Reich. Clever. Clever. Let's be 100% open. Japan and Korea don't really have the best relationship in the world, alright? They have particularly strenuous ties. They don't get along very well, and that's because of the history that they have between the two of them. It is what it is. I'm not going to support the event for banning them. At the same time, I sort of support Jimin in wearing what he wants, but then you have to deal with the consequences potentially of wearing that. If people are that easily, you know, offended and hurt. I'm trying to think of a way to equate this to something else. Even if we use World War II as an example, what would this situation be? I mean, it would have to be a Jewish person, like, wearing something to do with Germany in the war. Germany being attacked in the war. If a Jewish person was wearing a Fall of Germany shirt, would people be offended by that? Like, obviously, the stuff that happened to the Jews in the war was horrendous. So, does that count? Would that be offensive to the Germans? Even though it's the Jews that... I don't get that. Like, I don't know how this works. So let me know your thoughts on this. Maybe we can have like a conversation about whether it's right or wrong. What parts do you agree with me? What parts you disagree with me? But yeah, I'm pretty much for the individual doing what they want as long as it's not inciting violence. And maybe people would say that there's a bomb on a shirt. Maybe that is violence. But then a gun on a shirt, is that violence? Or someone who has experienced being drowned and then they see water on a shirt, is that violence for them? It's very, very loose as to how this works. So tell me below what you think. But anyway, guys, if you did enjoy this video, please do like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel down there. Now, I've been Narendra the Comic. You have been great, and I'll see you next time. Skadoosh.